Hello, I'm Bill Phillips, and I'm here in Murcia in southern Spain at the end of a 6 weeks period of training practitioners, coaches, and more recently trainers in neuro-linguistic programming. I had the great good fortune of having a long conversation with my friend and mentor, John Grinder, about the application of precision in language, and in particular the use of the meta model and its development, the verbal package, which is used in the new code of NLP. Here are some excerpts from that discussion, and I hope you'll find them most interesting and informative. John, we're here training coaches and now training trainers of NLP in southern Spain. And one of the things I notice frequently is the lack of precision in the way that some of these trainers use their language. And I'm curious about what your views are about that and what could be done to help them improve.
Okay, a larger frame in response to your question to begin with, Bill. There are contexts in which precision is an optimal characteristic of the language being used. There are other contexts in which precision would become an obstacle to successful communication. And figuring out which class of language serves best in which context is part of the art of living. There are some clear examples. If I'm an engineer and I'm communicating specs to you as a colleague, then I want the utmost precision because this will reflect itself in the designs that we succeed or fail to generate. If on the other hand, I'm attempting to create a context where people can freely express what it is that they have in mind, where they want to go, what their interests, desires, confusions, etc. are probably at the beginning use language as quite general, painting, as it were, a verbal Rorschach onto which they can then hallucinate, project their own particular understanding. Master both forms. One is, of course, a very precise language, and this is associated with a model, first model of NLP, done by Pusalik and Bandler and myself, and coded by Bandler and myself. It's sort of a syntactician's dream, independent of understanding or not understanding, and I'll talk about which is preferable. Such a syntactic model, the meta model I'm referring to, and its descendants, the precision model, Mike McMaster in 1980 with me, and once again, Carmen and I, the generation of what is called the verbal package, which takes some three distinctions out of the old meta model, carries them forward, and adds in some quite interesting extra pieces, framing, especially framing for intention, methods of positive receipt, such as paraphrase or instantiation, giving examples of what the topic is. And finally, the intention question, which gives you a large enough frame that should you, for example, after a conversation with your boss, who has assigned you a project, and you've done the questions for clarification, at that point, you can leave if you don't know the intention when you hit the wall. You're going to have to come back and check to find out whether this, in fact, is a possible solution or set of solutions that you've developed. If, on the other hand, you understand the intention behind the entire project and the various component parts of it, then you have this option of inventing your own solutions consistent, contained by the intention, which has been made explicit, and you need to return to source in order to know whether this is an appropriate variation on what you originally discussed with him or her. So, please go ahead.
Just come in, because my concern about precision with the people attending this program, for example, was very much about their apparent unawareness of what comes out of their own mouths. So I'm fascinated by the fact that when they're giving presentations, when they're demonstrating NLP procedures, they don't notice the words coming out of their own mouth, and sometimes they even undo something they've done really well, just because they come out with a phrase that kind of deletes the benefits. So my curiosity is about how to build their skill at calibrating their own language.
I think I understand. So let's look at some options. One option a personal style that I have cultivated, is open your mouth and fly. As you do this, if you take this strategy, then you also accept a certain responsibility. As you run a set of filters, active filters, on what you hear yourself say. And if you hear yourself say something which has the qualities that you just mentioned, that it sort of undid this hard piece of work you just did, you correct yourself. Now, there's lots of styles of doing that. You probably see me do this. I will step to the side and look back at where I was and look at the image of myself over there and go, look at the group, go, what was he thinking? And then go, well, let me make a little mind reading here. I bet what he really wanted to say was, step back in, deliver it. So you're demonstrating multiple patterns at the same time. What I don't want people to do is to begin to rehearse what they're going to say before they say it. You lose all natural fluidity, the rhythm falls apart, there are long pauses which have no marking value. They're simply you rehearsing what you're going to say next in order to avoid saying things that you might as well say and then correct, assuming you're willing to accept that style. So, and as soon as you start rehearsing, I think you lose the freshness, and you also start dropping rapport because your attention is now split between internal monologue that you're running, which is the rehearsal, and what you're supposed to be doing, namely attending to what the hell's going on around you. So of those two, it's clear which side I come down on. So it might be useful to mention historically how this thing got tested. The meta model, of course, is a set of 13 different language patterns, which are purely syntactic. They're not based in any way on meaning, to which you have a specific challenge or set of challenges. I'm scared. And of course, every fluent speaker of English recognizes that the predicate to be scared is inviting two particular things to be involved, namely what it is the person is scared of and the person who is scared. Now, the person who's scared is the I in I'm scared. What's missing is the event or the object or the person which is the source of the stimulation which has been interpreted and articulated as being scared. So this is simply a deletion recovery operation. What's missing? Scared of what specifically is the classic response, and you get quicker. Historically, Bandler and I, especially the two of us, but Frank was deeply involved in the testing of this, as we began to code these patterns, which we had modeled from primarily at that point, Pearls and Satir. Erickson came in a bit later. We spent a good 6, 7, 8 months restricting ourselves to only meta model to see how far this single tool composed of these 13 patterns could carry us. And one of the unanticipated and most amusing consequences of this behavior of focusing compulsively on testing where this worked and where it didn't work was that we lost our internal dialogue. That is, we did this in such a strongly disciplined way, focusing our attention on these syntactic patterns, that we built a set of almost autonomous internal circuits so that if we heard ourselves or internally, we heard an internal dialogue we generated, which involved one of these patterns, these circuits would be triggered without any conscious effort. And the metaphor is Pac-Man, if you remember this ancient video game. It would essentially eat up, or maybe more accurately, reconnect through specification and recovery of deletion and challenging of certain patterns, syntactic patterns. It would reconnect the language with the reference experiences that they were symbolically representing. And then, of course, once that connection is made, there's no need for any further language that's called to action now. So, certainly, I've mentioned now 3 possibilities. obsessively, compulsively focus on doing this everywhere. Every contact with another human being is an opportunity to run the patterns and build circuits that become nearly autonomous. They will take care of it. You don't have to do anything else after that. That's a serious investment of time and effort. I think it's well worth it in the long run because you have these autonomous circuits which will keep you, is always the next move with the meta-model. Second possibility, of course, is the style I was proposing, which you open your mouth and speak. If you hear yourself say something you disagree with or a violation of one of the patterns that you wish to be very clean presenting, then you simply pause, smile to yourself internally, and you have a little phrase like, let me say that more precisely, or what I really want to say is, or another way of perhaps more clearly presenting the point I wish to is. And now you give the amended, politically correct from a meta-model point of view presentation. So if you use a cause-effect, and that's one thing you don't want to promote, there's already too much of it going on out there, then you can reframe it, offer another way of saying it. So that's the second choice. The third choice, of course, as I mentioned, is rehearsal. I would not recommend this. I very much like the way you have incorporated the inductive processes that I point to Carmen's behavior as introducing into the field of NLP in making these CDs, in making these CDs which allow a person to use the CD as an occasion for practicing exactly what we were talking about here. I suspect this is probably the fourth choice, mentioning the other three. We're going to add to this Phillips CD, which is now in both English and Spanish. Okay, bueno.
Who says?
Who says? Who says is the name of it? Have a look, have a listen, jump on it.